here 4 years later, you see that green is really not grass, it's merged. And the mayor will talk about the need for a reconstruction and what our alternatives are. I don't want to upstage the mayor, so he's on his way. Hi, how you doing, Daniel?
What was, Mike, what was 670?
That was the total cost of the project. That was the synthetic track, and the field component was about $410,000.
Hey, Jeff.
Is that for a walk?
What kind of?
I should have brought my waiters. What's going on? Hi, guys.
Hi.
Good morning. James, how are you? What are you doing here? Playing baseball?
Well,
how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
No, I have a job to do,
Hi.
buddy.
Hi,
I'm
I'm
gonna
Taking that down?
coming up. Yeah.
Perfect.
Actually, Jimmy and I.
Where are you storing it?
Probably Thursday or Friday.
Good.
Question. We've had some conversations about plugs and stuff like that.
Right.
He's got them, and we need to get them, so I don't want to know it before. The plugs are up, we'll fill it up with dirt, and we need to get them
Right.
back in.
I invited you all here today because I wanted to host a little tour of Hurrell so that you could see the state that the field is in now in 2013, 4 years after we did a major $400,000+ rebuild of this entire field. We were hoping at that time that we would get 10 years or so of useful life out of it. We're now 4 years into it. We're going to have to sod on recommendation of all our experts in between the hash marks, pretty much, you know, in the area where the football team plays the most. That's going to be what, about $15,000 to $18,000, and that's just a temporary fix. We'll put the sod down, they'll play on it, and the sod will be shot by the end of the season. That's been our experience. This isn't the first time we've sodded it since 2009. We pretty much have to sod it every year. And the reason for that is that, you know, the team plays through end of May into June, okay, and then they start up again in August, in the middle of August, right? And what happens is we try and sod it right away in the hottest part of the summer, and of course it takes a while for the seed to germinate. By the time these guys come out here and play on it, the seed that hasn't really had a chance to germinate and grow and form the kind of strength that it needs to survive a full season of play. So after 4 years now, we're in a position where we're going to have to do a major rebuild of this field next year. And we have to decide as a mayor and council whether we're going to do it as grass or we're going to do it as synthetic. Because, you know, what we're seeing is money being spent year after year after year, and we're not coming up with the quality of field that we think we need to have for our residents and our student athletes. As mayor, I'm going to ask the council for permission to ask the voters in November to allow us to make this field a synthetic field in 2014. It just doesn't make sense to me, to Jeff, and to Mike to spend more money on grass. Given the level of play that these fields see every year, grass just won't hold up. I mean, it's just clear. It's not only clear in what we're looking at here today, it's clear from all the studies that we've read. The University of Florida has said that, you know, if you're at 150, is it 150 events?
Hours.
All right, well, it depends on how you divide an event.
Yeah.
So hours a year on a field with goal sports, you're gonna essentially degrade the field to a point where it's going to need to be rehabbed.
150, 200 is fine. 250 to 500 is degrading. Up to 800 destroys the field. We're approaching 800.
Approaching 800 just on this field.
What's a year?
Per year.
We have 800 hours of activities on this
800
field.
hours?
Hours, not events.
This field is in use all the time.
Yeah.
And that comes from several
Planned
sites.
activity.
You know, we
That
can.
that doesn't
if
even
you're
count
looking
the
for
that
details,
goes on
you know,
the field.
please contact Mike and Jeff after right after this conference.
I do want to throw it. It's not even just the sodding every year. We have, as a result of the last time through this problem, we've gone to outside consultants. We've done a Rutgers study on their recommendations. We've hired experts and still paid turf management programs, all from outside the town, all varying experts, and the end product is still awful. So we've given all the tender loving care we possibly can, and it just doesn't work.
To Jeff's point, we followed the Rutgers plan since
since 2008, with one exception, hours of play. There's no way we could limit hours of play. Under their recommendation was 200.
Yeah.
So that's the only recommendation that we were not able to fulfill from the Rutgers study.
Since this field was built years ago, there's been an increase in the number of teams and users. You know, it used to just be that this field was used for football in the fall, baseball in the spring. Maybe the band would come out here and practice periodically. But now we have the addition of boys and girls soccer. We have boys and girls lacrosse.
And the youth program that's tripled in size.
Yeah. Now, what would be the advantages of a synthetic field over a grass field? Synthetic, you don't have to worry about bad weather. You don't have to be concerned with 2 or 3 days of rain, and then, geez, can you open the field up for play the next day?
Let me jump. That's such a huge point because our opening weekend of football on this field in 4 days, there will be 5 games. If we get bad weather in that time frame, the field is done for the year. We'll be playing on mud and dirt for the rest of the year.
So what do you get out of synthetic? You get the ability to play rain or shine in any kind of weather. You don't have canceled dates because of weather. You don't have, well, what you do have is you have the ability to play on this field, which then would give us the ability potentially to rest some of our other grass fields in town, which is really a big consideration. It has benefits here, but it also has benefits at Carteret and Forest Avenue and perhaps Sherman.
Just the fact that it'll be a multi-use field allows you to draw off the other fields. You can simultaneously use both sides of the field for different sports.
Right.
It just takes a lot of the pressure off the other areas.
Yeah.
And going to about the playability, when we were talking about hours, the assumption is that's under perfect playing conditions. If you have one rainstorm and play football immediately after, the hours go out the window. So you could have a field destroyed in one day.
And it's happened. This is not hypothetical. It's happened.
Do we have a good news that the years have passed and technology has changed and we will consider more environmentally friendly artificial turf products?
We are absolutely open on that point right now. We're in the process of doing all that research. No decisions have been made. The best product wins.
And will we know that before the referendum, or will we only learn that after the referendum?
My guess is not.
Okay, I'm going to say after, because
Probably right.
there's no point in doing a ton of research into which, and each system has advantages and disadvantages.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, there's not a lot of advantage to be gained in deciding exactly which system we're going to go for, because price is also a consideration as well. If the voters tell us we don't want to do it, then we would have wasted our time. So my feeling is we want permission to go forward and make this a synthetic field, but we have no horse in the race as to which system we would adopt, other than to say that we will do our due diligence, we will ask for input from our residents, and we will consider all types of synthetic fields, and we hopefully will pick the one that makes the most sense.
And is the referendum going to be for an X budget or going to be carte blanche?
No, we would.
We'll have approximations because we haven't bid it out yet, but there will be a price tag. There'll be a cost will be delineated in the referendum question.
Yep.
Has there been any feedback on the subject from the various user groups like the high school and the GRA? Have they weighed in on the matter at any time this summer?
Yes. And we're looking for and expect to get support from the Board of Ed on this issue.
About the drainage, that has to be changed.
Yes. Yeah, the synthetic field we would have to excavate. There's a stone bed that goes down underneath. Well, there's a drainage system, stone bedding, then we lay the synthetic turf.
Which actually is an advantage. If you look at the drainage issues now, a lot of these lines that you see on the field are a result of drainage problems from what's up there now. So that gets all replaced, and you get this filtration system that you won't see any kind of, you won't notice anything on the ground.
Yeah, we won't need any off-site piping. The piping from the street leading to Hurrell Field is adequate size to support a synthetic field.
You know, going back to your question on synthetic fields and which type, personally, I'm going to be really looking for input from someone like Essex County that has built numerous synthetic fields and has had much more experience. This will be our first synthetic field in Glen Ridge. And I would ask, and have already asked the county to give us some information as to what they think works, what they think doesn't work, and why. And I would expect them to help us not only with that, but also other aspects, design, contractors for installation, that kind of thing, because they have a lot of experience, certainly much more than we do.
Yeah, I mean, we're actually
But Jeff is,
in conversations now.
you know, you plan to make an inspection of a field with a newer type of environmentally
Well,
friendly.
we've already visited a number of fields, and we have a few more visits planned, which will cover all the known types of fields there are out there that I've been able to find. So we're making a few wide radius trips to make sure we cover our bases and walk every field we can.
Having been burnt once with the construction and the building of this field, what have we learned and what are we going to use going forward to make sure that we don't end up with the same
Full-time
cost overruns?
construction inspection.
I'm sorry?
Full-time
Full-time
construction
construction
Well,
inspection.
that was one of the lessons learned.
Yeah.
I would take issue with we weren't necessarily burnt because we did hold the contractor's feet to the fire.
Yes.
And he did pay for all the necessary repairs to make this grass field as good as it could be. Okay? So we weren't really burned in that sense.
Well, in terms of playtime for the kids, it was
Yeah, well,
a delay.
Yeah, we had to
absolutely,
shut it down for a
yeah,
while.
no question.
I've been in contact with other towns quite a bit recently, and they have all said the same thing, that you need to have a direct report, unbiased, non-affiliated construction manager who understands the process.
Because the construction inspection will be performed by a firm that is not the design engineer. So what we'll do, we'll be separating design responsibilities and inspection responsibilities between two different firms.
And again, we would look for people like the county who put in numerous fields, learn from their experiences, what worked for them, what didn't work.
Yeah. Going back to Christine's point, and to the mayor's point about looking at fields and seeing what works, the problem with the Hurrell Field was that the manufacturer gave two options to install the drainage pipes, and regrettably the option that was chosen by the contractor failed. And so that was a lesson learned, and we contacted the manufacturer about some of the specifications for the product.
Okay. So we will be wiser in this project.
Well, we'll have somebody here every day who knows what our interests are.
I also take it, of course, that if the referendum goes forward, there's also going to be health and safety studies done, possible impact on the players and everything. Is that correct?
Well, there've already been so many. That data is absolutely prevalent out there. Do I expect this to be not a question? Of course it will be a question. But I think right now what we've learned is a lot of the fears have been put to bed. Maybe not to everybody's satisfaction, but we're going to ask everybody to do their own research. I've certainly done quite a bit. We will absolutely have our own health people involved, but we wouldn't be recommending a referendum for turf if we didn't think it was safe and sound.
And you know, we've had 6 years of experience since this question was last looked at, right? Was it 6 years? 2008.
Or 2007, sorry.
Yeah, and you know, our student athletes have been playing on synthetic fields since that time. And so, you know, we have that experience that we can look at for examples. I haven't heard anyone say that there's been a health-related issue with any one of our student athletes in that period of time. Have you? Not one.
I don't go to enough
Anecdotally,
games.
I can say that our sports programs that play on Watsessing, which is a county field that we have a substantial amount of time on, thanks to the county. Our teams have been very successful playing on those fields because they're quick and it gives us somewhat of a home field advantage that we don't have.
The cross program has benefited from it greatly.
Right. Now, one program that we would hope would benefit from the addition of a synthetic field is the girls' field hockey program.
They will see the biggest boost in playability.
Yeah.
Where they're situated now at Forest Avenue is just not appropriate for their sport. It's a burden on them. We've tried to get them time in other towns. We've succeeded a little bit, not enough. This will really solve a lot of their problems and will really help their program.
Can I extrapolate from your statement that we are going to then increase from 800 hours currently played on this field, because we're now going to pull the girls' field hockey from the Sherman Ave field to this one? Are we going to start increasing the number of games and play time here?
We will schedule as efficiently as we possibly can. What that means in hours is really unknown right now, but I think that's a fair assumption.
With that fair assumption, does that mean night games and lights?
Definitely not.
N-O.
You want to say that again?
N-O.
You have a question?
Lights are not included in this referendum. They're not included in the plan. We do not intend to put lights in.
We will not fund lights.
Right.
Except for the security line. Well,
Okay.
On the subject of turf and safety and pets. Many families, it's a Saturday outing, they've got 2 or 3 kids, they go to the field with the pet and the kids and they watch the game that starts at 8 and then they watch the game that starts at 10 and they're still here for 3. I'm sorry?
this field is no dogs allowed.
Okay.
Unlike Carteret, which, while there are still no dogs technically allowed at Carteret, there still are a number of families that do enjoy that field on the weekends. There are other animals that run off leash on that field, and you know, I think that was one of the points of opposition to the prior proposal, which included Carteret as a synthetic field. And I think it upset the neighborhood because they feel that is as much a park as it is a playing field, whereas this field is a playing field. It's
Right.
not a park. Okay, and I think it's an important distinction.
Okay.
Synthetic field would have an impact on the attendance in any way?
No, I can't see that changing much, but we do have at the other fields, particularly when we talk about field hockey, we do have this very small aluminum stand that we roll out. Certainly not comfortable, certainly on a cold fall day, not comfortable. So to the degree that this would be more comfortable for the fans and that helps bring out attendance, that would be fine. We'd love more attendance, but I don't see it having a great effect.
Do we need soil tests, or have they been done?
Soil tests, we did an environmental study back in 2006, and there won't be a need for it. Everything turned out clean.
So nothing's changed? It's been
No,
great.
nothing has changed.
Except we have more weeds and less grass.
Yeah, I think that's important to note because Dean talked about it. We see a greening of the center part of the field. Unfortunately, that spurge is a weed that's going to be, as soon as you get cleats on, it'll be ripped right out.
Well, this is spurge.
This is spurge right here.
This is
Okay. It's just
long
a,
weed.
yeah.
It's still a weed.
It's a weed. And
Oh, it's absolutely a weed.
it's a weed, but also it just kicks right out.
here's
as soon as you have-
crabgrass, right?
Yep, crabgrass.
Crabgrass here.
Yeah. Because from the street, it looks like we
Did a beautiful
did
job.
a beautiful job, and it's green.
Well, crabgrass has deep roots. That's not a
Yeah,
problem.
that's not a
It's
problem.
the verge that's the...
This stuff
that-
is this
this
root.
This is
As soon as you make a short
Yeah.
turn with cleats on,
and you can see
that
this
comes
whole
out from
area
under.
in here is now spurge.
If you look, the whole plain area,
Yeah.
basically from the 20 to the 20,
Yeah.
off to the midfield.
And again, you know, there's just no way to grow grass in the period of time that we allow grass to grow. We have early spring when it's the rainy period, right? After we come out of the winter, and now it's not really warm enough for seed to germinate until what, late April, sometime in May. Whereas our programs are well underway by late April and early May. Okay, so we're laying down seed in March.
And the only thing that will take hold is an annual rye, which we know will die out the following year. So basically, to get through the spring season, we have to use an annual to have it germinate in time for the baseball season, and that we know we're going to have to come back and redo.
We'll share with the town. We'll be happy to share with you guys the finances of this thing. But we're spending, depending on how you look at it, between $90,000 and $150,000 a year on this field alone. That's a tremendous amount of money.
Closer to the higher number.
And we end up with a field that will not hold up for an entire season. And that just, in my mind, is a poor use of public funds. I'd much rather use funds to build a field that's going to last for 10 or more years under all conditions and will eliminate the majority of that maintenance expense. I mean, that maintenance expense we project would drop to somewhere around, what, $10,000 a year? Now, we would have to amortize what we know would be a replacement field sometime in the future, say after 10 or 15 years.
And the disposal of the...
And
disposal.
And disposal.
That's all one cost.
That will be on the referendum question. Future costs will be
going to
include
try
it.
and, we're doing this because we want to be open, we want to be transparent, we want the people of Glen Ridge to know what we're dealing with. It's not something that we just thought up overnight. We've been living this problem for the last 6 years. I have, as mayor, been living this problem for 6 years. And I want the town to back me on this and realize this is not the way to go. Grass fields are just not a good use of public funds, given the amount of activity that we want our kids to have on these fields. If we had fewer teams and we had fewer children, maybe we could support grass. But given what we have, and we certainly don't want to reduce the amount of activity our children have on these fields. We want kids to get out. We want them to play. We want them to practice.
And class sizes just get bigger every year.
Yeah,
That absolutely.
that's a good thing. That's all good. But I'm asking the town to support me on this because it just makes sense. We have the experience. We didn't just make this up. We have numbers. Synthetic's the way to go. We just have to come up with a better solution. Mr. Malik.
I'm not a press person.
We're looking for your
We
credentials.
know that.
I'll find some point.
Okay.
Real quick, just one thing. The field hockey team doesn't play on Sherman, they play on Forest.
You're right, sorry.
Very tough field.
I knew that.
And with Sherman not being used as often, it actually really helps the field. Or use it in the winter, so heat up, which is what the mayor talking
It's definitely a
about
snowball
not
effect.
using those other fields. One of the other things that gets impacted a great deal because the baseball team is in the high school for the first month and a half of their season. They're in the gyms. So those gyms that wait for basketball to be over, there's a lot of backup. And the lacrosse team's waiting on that. Those other teams now have been able to start going outside early, down to Sessing or over to Glenfield, because we have those facilities available from the county. The baseball team is stuck. They have no option. They can't go anywhere. Synthetic
But
turf here
regardless,
helps them.
regardless of whether the season opens the end of March and they'll be out here playing.
It's a set date. You can't do anything about it, as well as the recreation teams.
Yeah, that's correct.
And Jim will tell you, we played probably 8 doubleheaders in Legion this year because of the weather, because of the field. You see the water on the inside of the field. That's a disaster. We can't do anything about it. We can't really ask the WW to try to fix that.
We have spent money trying to do some things about it.
Really kills us, yeah. And we spent a lot of money with Hillcrest this year trying to do that infield. It still looks like it.
Part of the problem with this field, from a design purpose, it's football and baseball. So instead of having a crown that water sheds, basically you have a flat slope coming across, and it's just trying to play being limited in land, trying to play 2 different sports on the same field create design problems, and there's no way around that, unfortunately. And that's one thing about synthetic field.
Question, actually, a statement. Actually, really more of a question. Is the entire field going to be synthetic?
Yes.
Meaning infield?
Correct. It has to be 120,000
Doesn't have to be.
square feet. No, it would be.
I'm
both.
just telling you,
No,
from my standpoint, it should be.
It wouldn't make sense to do just a football field.
Still gonna spend a tremendous
Let me
amount of
qualify that. It's absolutely the plan. We have some work to do, but right now we're looking at 128,000 square feet, 100% of this inside the track area.
I'll ask you a question. Since we
No.
put that new batting cage up to
That'll be fine.
$12,000, it can go turf underneath it, but we're still going to be able to
Correct.
put
Yeah,
that
we
back
could
up next
accommodate
season.
that. Well, I call it track and field facilities, baseball, everything can be reused. You can have javelin competitions on the synthetic
Yeah,
turf.
just to use it.
Yeah,
We're going back to high jump.
Let's talk a little bit about timing. Mike, can you walk us through the
Yes. The mayor will propose to be a resolution, most likely on the August 12th agenda. We vote upon, if it's approved by council, we have till August 16th to submit it to the county.
Now, this is the referendum
It's a
resolution, which would include the question that would be on the ballot.
And that will be available the Friday before the meeting. We'll have it posted on our website. So we'll submit the question to the county clerk by August 16th. It'll be on the November ballot, not the October special. It'll be on the regular general election on November 5th.
We're preparing a PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah.
We are looking for opportunities to go before the residents and voters of Glen Ridge to explain the need as we see it and the rationale behind it. We hope to reach out to seniors, home schools, Kiwanis, Rotary, whatever group feels that they could give us 10, 15 minutes to a half an hour so that we can get our message out so that the voters have all the information that they need. Again, we're having this press conference in advance so that people know what's coming at them. We will post this resolution will be on our website. The resolution will give the background as well as the language. We encourage people to think about it, ask questions, call me, call Mike, send us emails. We want to hear from people. We certainly want people to feel that they had an opportunity to be heard.
And just the back end of the timing, if the vote goes well, we would commit sometime in the early spring to vendors for construction to take place following the baseball season.
Right. Now, one element of this is that we are going to look for a substantial portion of this cost of this project to be borne by private donation. This will not be paid for 100% by the borough of Glen Ridge. And that also will be included in the question that will be on the ballot.
Does that mean we relinquish control?
No,
Absolutely not. No strings attached.
Final decision on how and who is on this field lays with the Parks and Recreation Department. We've always had a very good working relationship between our rec program and our high school. Nothing will change.
And Christian, it's a model that's been used in numerous towns before, and the municipality never had problems after the fact.
I recall that I was on the council and was instrumental in the building of the Glen Ridge Town Pool, and that was funded 100% by the revenues that the pool generates from its membership. The town put the money up, but all of those costs have been carried by the membership. It's been a very successful model.
But it's not a town pool, it's a private pool.
It's a town pool.
The town
You have to pay membership.
You have to pay a membership, but it's this is an example of a public-private partnership. Up until that point, there had been at least 2 other major efforts to try and get a town pool built in Glen Ridge, both of which failed. I wasn't around at the time, so I can't speak as to exactly why it failed, but I can tell you why ours succeeded, and that is because we went to the voters and said, we want to build a pool, there's certainly a need, and the business plan that we've put together with the membership shows that not only will it pay for all the current operating costs, but there will be a sinking fund created that will accumulate funds so that when we need to make repairs, whether small or large, the monies will be there, won't be coming out of the town tax revenue, and we've delivered on that. And the membership and town has delivered it, but it's contained in a utility here in Glen Ridge. So we're in control of the funding, we're in control of the operation, we're in control. Again, the membership is involved, but the town has responsibility.
Mayor, I was at a meeting maybe about 4 weeks ago, and it was regarding Elizabeth Baker made the motion, the parking in front of one of the schools, you were going to move it down.
That was Forest
Correct,
Avenue
yes.
School, right?
And you expressed concern at the time that it was an important vote, but it was being done towards the summer,
Right.
in the summer,
Right.
and you were concerned, I'm assuming, for public reaction
Yep.
in the council. You have those same concerns now, because this is...
Now, the timing is deliberate here because we want all the conversation to take place starting in September. The announcement of the referendum going on the ballot will be in August, but our presentation to the town will be in September, and there'll be 4 meetings before the vote, or 5 meetings before the vote, and we expect conversation to take place throughout those 2 months.
And most importantly, the decision will be made on November 5th.
Right.
By the voters.
By the voters.
Which is something I committed to when I was first elected to mayor 6 years ago. I said that I would not unilaterally push to have a synthetic field if that's the way it was going to go, without going back to the voters for a vote. And after 6 years, and after the experience that we've seen with grass, I'm going to ask the voters to support me. And believe me when I say the grass is not working, synthetic is the way to go. Any other
Regarding the Rutgers study, what were some of the other recommendations that it made regarding field maintenance?
Here's the host that basically gave us a scheduled field maintenance from March through November. And we've been following that plan ever since. So I think it was delivered the spring of 2007.
I believe it also contained recommendations about what species of grass you could try planting.
We did all that. We followed it through, and we also hired a consultant to monitor it. We had to tweak, of course, the Rutgers program because of the amount of play on the field, but we always had a professional consultant advise us on what steps to take. And it was not for lack of effort. Outside consultants cost us between all the fields probably in the area of $50,000 to $60,000 a year.
That's a lot of money. It's a police officer. You know,
And there, to your point, that's just normal maintenance. That doesn't include the sodding and all the other expenses.
Right.
That's just fulfilling the Rutgers study.
Yeah, we've had to do sod not just on this field because of use. We've done sod at Carteret periodically. We've done it at Forest.
This year, in the last month, we've done Forest, Carteret, and we'll be doing next week here.
Right. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to break that cycle. We're trying to break the cycle of spend, 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 and then spend some more. What we're trying to do is create a cycle where we can have, including Watsessing and Hurrell as synthetic with Sherman. Then we can hopefully schedule ourselves in such a way as that we can take some of the load off the grass fields and give them a chance to let grass grow successfully.
Because the one recommendation we can't fall due to just the lack of fields is not playing gold sports back-to-back on a particular field. And every study will tell you that that's the way to manage your fields, and it's just impossible with the amount of play we have.
Right.
Even if we get lucky on a field one year, we absolutely have to solve the goal areas every year.
Yeah.
There's just no way around that.
And because of the timing allowed, we can't use the less expensive sod. We have to go with the deep cut sod, thick cut sod, which is more expensive. It doesn't last any longer, but at least we can play on it right away.
How long does an installation take in this size, do you know?
They say 8 to 12 weeks. I hope that's accurate.
Yeah. Weather dependent. That's
Weather dependent. There's always
Well, again, you know, we can lean on the county. What's been your experience in terms of a construction schedule and what seems to be a reasonable amount of time?
but if we start June 1st, we're ready for the football season.
June 1st next year,
2014.
during the summer, the opening day.
Yeah, we'd like to see a positive vote in November 5th, and then we would get to work right away to get the construction set, to get a bid put out.
Actually, we have a design already.
Right, but we'd have to put it out for bid.
We would have to put it out for bid.
Right.
So we're pretty far ahead of
Identify a
design.
contractor, and then set up a schedule, and then get it going early June as soon as we could, and then have it ready for as early in August as we could get. But you have to get in somebody's construction schedule. If somebody else gets in ahead of you, they may not be available in time.
So the quicker we know, the better the timing falls into place.
Who's the designer?
We don't. By that I mean we have a lot of the data set already from the previous project. Grade-wise, we have the track that's going to set the topography for us. So a lot of design elements were carried out in previous projects that it now gives us a basis to come upon. So it's going to reduce the time for the design.
But no, we have not gone out and hired
we don't have
a
an
design firm for this specific project. Again, that would be a waste of money at this point. I don't want to waste any more money on this field.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.